what can people do in a simple, practical step when they just feel like, man, there's so much in my head right now. What can I do to start to slow down my heart rate just a little bit, to start thinking more calmly and make better decisions?
Yeah, you know, I think that the moment we switch on that system for alert or for emergency, we alter ourselves in some way. And all of that response that we have to an environment that we perceive as threatening or dangerous pretty much causes us to move out of balance. And when you're out of balance, you're in survival. And when you're in survival, you want to rush to get things done. You can't be present. You know, you believe everything that equal to the feeling of fear or hostility, because information is relevant to you in that emotional state. So teaching people then that they have some type of control over that sympathetic response, that emergency system that switches on, is preparing you for something you can't predict.
Yeah.
Something that's an unknown, something that you can't control. And that survival system causes us to move more into our animal nature. And we're tapping our body's vital resources for health and regeneration. So short term, it's great, but you keep doing it over and over again, you start becoming more and more conditioned to that rush of energy. So teaching people how to self-regulate, teaching them how to move back into the present moment, teaching them that they can shorten their responses. It's really not that you react. I mean, we all react. The question is, how long are you going to react for? Because if you keep that reaction going, then you can't perceive any change in your environment. You won't have any ability to heal. So you become more affected by your environment. So simple process of getting back into the present moment, self-regulating, trading that fear for some other emotions.
Yeah.
And that's doing the work and
right.
The practice. And that's what we should be doing, because now we have energy to heal. We have energy for
right.
growth and repair. We have energy to create now. And
mm-hmm.
we're not losing energy now. We're gaining energy. And
yeah.
that signals the immune system, as we talked about. And that's what causes T cells to make antibodies and antigen, the immunoglobulins that fight antigens. And now your internal defense system can take care of the micro world,
yes.
where there are invaders, where there are attackers, and you have energy to heal. And your immune system, as we said, is always combating viruses and bacteria. And if you're less responsive to your environment emotionally, then you're less responsive to your environment physically, and you have,
right.
you have more energy. And people just need to know the information, because that empowers them to begin to make different choices. And now that you know, you can apply knowledge and make a different choice, demonstrate a different behavior, create a new experience, and that new experience creates a new emotion. Wow, then all of a sudden now you start learning new things, and you start stepping away from your old self. And that's what you want people to do. Biology changes.
And creating a new self, stepping away from the old self. We talked about that in our interview. If people want to check out more on that. You, for those that are just joining us, I'm seeing a lot of people joining and sharing where they're chiming in from. Good to see you all. I saw my friend Darman, a lot of people from all over the world watching this. I want to ask you a couple quick questions. One, before I ask the next question, if you guys click the little airplane button below and you share this on your Instagram story, or if you take a screenshot at any time and you tag me and at Dr. Joe, if you tag us, I'm going to be giving away a couple of copies of my book, a couple of copies of Joe's book to a few winners. I wanted to ask you a personal question, not too personal, but something personal that I don't think we talk about a lot, at least not in interviews that I've seen or that I've done with you. When do you feel the most stressed and overwhelmed? Or are you just like so elevated at this point because you do your work and the meditations daily that nothing affects you? But is there any moments where you're like, you feel trigger, you feel reaction? Because I think people see you as this incredible leader who's been doing this for decades, and you know, you live the practice, but there's got to be moments you react, right?
Of course. I mean, I react when I see certain people in the world misunderstand this information. or have an interest in trying to attack it in some way.
Or take you down, or come after
or
you.
misrepresent, or better yet, misrepresent it. I think I react to that. I mean, of course, I think a good day is, even if you do react, that you make your way back into your heart. If you finish there and you learn your lessons, I think it's a good day. So, I mean, I still get triggered, of course, but you know, I do my best every day to catch myself, and I'm less effective in that state, and I think I've learned through trial and error to self-regulate and get back. It always feels like a better day when I do.
It's hard to make good choices when you come from reaction, fear, anxiety, stress, but you always create more powerful service in the world, from my experience, when your heart is filled with love, peace, and those type of qualities, which you teach about and talk about in your meditations, which I know. If you guys have gone through Dr. Joe's meditations, leave a heart, just comment with a heart to let us know if you have, and his meditations are unbelievable. I want to ask you the next question. When you get to that state of, Dr. Joe, your stuff is horrible, you suck, this is wrong, there's no proof, your science is wrong, you know, whatever people say, how do you get back to your heart, and how long does that usually take for you?
Well, I'm going to answer that on two levels, because I just realized that used to bother me, you know, much more than it does right now, because I actually don't care any longer. You know, that as an example, because we have so much evidence that actually shows that it does work. So,
but let's just say you get frustrated there right now. And how do you? Is there like 60-second practice? You're like, okay, I'm aware.
Right.
Now let me get back to my heart. What is that practice for you personally?
Yeah. So when I do react, though, part two of my answer was that I really want. I always take a moment and I step back. I have to disengage from whoever I'm talking to. I have to step away from whatever I'm doing, break my routine, and step away long enough to just remember that I'm disconnecting from the energy that I'm using to create a new future. And I'm back into a familiar energy that's connected to my past. And I've lost my ability to stay connected to it because a circumstance has altered my feelings and my thoughts. So I remember that. That's not a conversation you normally want to have with yourself when you think somebody's doing something to you, right? But I know the alternative just leads to a day that spirals downward. So then I close my eyes, or I step away for a minute, and I just put my attention back in my heart. And the first thing I work on is changing the way I breathe, to become conscious, moving the body out of danger, out of threat, teaching it how it can be safe again, to self-regulate, to slow it down into the present moment and start breathing. And when you slow your breath down, you slow your brain waves down. And when you slow your brain waves down, you're slowing down the system of arousal. And your heart actually influences that. So then once I feel my connection to my heart, then I start thinking about the emotions that I'm using to create that future, whether it's gratitude, whether it's freedom, whether it's awe, or the mystical moment, or whatever. And I just bring up that energy back into my heart, and I tune in to that energy that I've become familiar with, because I do it enough times. And I remember I'm connecting to the energy of my future again. And I can do it sometimes in literally a minute or two.
Yeah.
And sometimes
takes an hour.
It takes me an hour, but I'm going to do my best to get there. And that's the
Yeah. Someone, Allison, just posted that she went to your retreat in Sedona earlier this year and said it was life-changing. Someone else said we do your meditations every day. Again, if you're just joining in the last few minutes, Dr. Joe Dispenza in the house. A lot of people say they've seen you a few times in person. They love you in Arizona. Make sure to share the little button below. It's a little airplane. If you click on that, you can share it on your story. If you take a screenshot of this and tag me and Joe, I'm going to send out a couple copies of my book and a couple copies of Joe's book to a couple of people that we choose from that later. You've got some amazing resources on your site, drjoedispenza.com. The next question I have for you is, What is the biggest transformation you've seen someone in your work over the last few decades? You've seen incredible healings within a few days of people on stage you talked about in our interview. You've, probably don't even share a lot of these stories, but what's the one that stands out the most of a massive healing or just transformation from their past self that was hurting them into a new future self that you talk about so much?
God, Louis, there are so many. If you asked me that question like maybe a year or two ago, I probably could have picked from a handful. But, this last year, we have seen so many incredible outcomes, from blind people seeing to deaf people hearing to numerous people with stage 4 cancers going to remission, tumors disappearing on the spinal cord, on the breast and lungs and the brain. We have seen serious conditions, tumors in children disappear. I mean, it's been a crazy time. But I can tell you a quick story about a woman who is a nurse in London, and she had a stroke, and it was right under the optic nerve, and it caused blindness in the left lower quadrant in both eyes, like from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. She was clinically blind as a result of the stroke, and she lost her driver's license. She couldn't function as a nurse anymore. She couldn't type, compromised because she was diagnosed as legally blind. So her life changed dramatically, and so she went to all the doctors, and the prognosis is pretty straightforward. If you don't see many changes after 2 weeks, you're probably not going to see many changes after that point. And so a year went by. She was asking all her colleagues. I mean, I think if you want a good doctor, ask a nurse. Nurses know good doctors. And so she went to all the good doctors that she knew. Get used to it. It's probably going to degenerate over as you age. And one of the doctors said, hey, why don't you go to this Dispenza event? I'll go with you. So they came. So they did the course, the preliminary course, and they came prepared. And it didn't even occur to her that she wanted to heal her vision. She was more interested in just learning how to cope in her life, and she wanted to start a nonprofit, but she was curious.
Learning how to cope with the vision.
The blindness.
Yeah.
That's what she thought, that she would be a better person. So halfway through the event, it occurs to her, maybe I could heal this thing.
Wow.
And she's in a walking meditation, and she gets lit up and inspired. She goes into the next meditation in the late morning. She finishes the meditation, she lays down, and she has this crackling sound in her brain, and with this kind of temperature change. When she opens her eyes, she has complete recovery.
Wow.
Of her blindness. We have the medical scans to show that the before scan of her eyes is all black between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. The Monday after the event, on the Monday morning, there's not one black spot on the post-scan in either eye. So she had complete recovery, a complete change in.
Wow. And she can still see fine today. She's good.
We just saw her in Munich in February. She was one of the volunteers, and still doing very well.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Curing blindness, that's another level, man. That's inspiring. A lot of I'm reading some of the comments come through here of people who are saying they can't wait till they can get tickets to your next event when they're allowed to get out of this quarantine. Really quick before I ask the next question, if you guys can all type in the thing you're most grateful for today. For me, I talk a lot about gratitude. Dr. Joe, I know for you, gratitude is something that's important to get to that field of energy, of positivity, of love, where you can think clearer. And when we have the right perspective, we can make better decisions. So go ahead and type in what you're most grateful for in the chat box. We'd love to see some of that. And leave a question that you have for Dr. Joe, and I'll try to skim through and see what we have here. Also, if you're just joining, thanks to everyone who shared this. Click the little airplane button below on the bottom to share this over on your stories to your friends. This will be up for 24 hours so people can watch this later. Seeing a lot of people saying just grateful to be alive, grateful for Dr. Joe, grateful for being healed from Dr. Joe in the past. What the bleep do we know? That was a movie you did, what was that, 10, 15 years ago or something, a documentary?
Yeah, probably a little over 12 years ago.
Wow, it's amazing. Grateful for the feeling of gratitude. Grateful for my son. I think the more we express those things, we get out of that fear state. What does gratitude do for us in replacing that kind of anxiety and fear?
Well, I mean, we've done research on gratitude, and it's very interesting because when you receive something, you've just received something. When something's happening to you or something just happened to you that's favorable, you feel this feeling of gratitude. So
Yes.
the emotional signature, its signature emotionally means something just happened to you or something is happening to you. So your body is so objective that it doesn't know the difference between an experience in your life that creates an emotion and an emotion that you can fabricate by thought alone. To the body, it's so objective, it's exactly the same. So when people start to feel gratitude, their body is believing that something favorable is going to happen to them, that is happening to them, or has already happened to them.
Really?
So the emotional signature of gratitude is the perfect signature or the state of energy to receive. So when we begin to embrace our future and we feel gratitude for it, we will believe that future is more of a reality because it's equal to the emotion that we're experiencing, but we're feeling the emotion before the actual event occurs. So gratitude, in a sense, you could use it to elevate your energy. And when you do just 10, 15 minutes a day, you'll strengthen your immune system by 50%. That's
wow. Just by having gratitude for 10, 15 minutes.
Just because your body starts to put energy right in your heart center. And there's a gland in there that we talked about in your show called that gland that has an endocrinological aspect and an immunological aspect. And it begins to signal chemicals that tells your T cells, strengthen. You got energy to like modify and create more receptors for anything coming out. And now your inner environment is doing that, and your T cells make these antibodies, these immunoglobulins that are the body's natural flu shot. It's proteins that protect cells, especially immune cells. And now you have an internal army, an internal order that will be greater than the environment. And now you have strength, you know, and you, from a suggestibility standpoint, you only accept, believe, and surrender to thoughts equal to your emotional state. So if people are in fear, then the information that comes in equal to fear, they will begin to resonate with or relate with because it's equal to that emotion. So they'll accept the information, they'll believe the information, they'll surrender to the information without ever analyzing it. And that programs us into certain limited behaviors. So then when you feel gratitude, the thoughts that you think, the dreams that you create, the behaviors that you demonstrate.
Preach it.
You begin to feel the future. Now something else happens. You start creating a huge change in the information, and you program your autonomic nervous system to program your body to become that future. And people are doing it.
Amazing, man. I've got 3 questions for you that I'm seeing come through that I want to make sure we ask. I want to keep this probably in the next 10 minutes. We'll wrap things up because I want to make sure you got to go create more meditations, content. You got so much going on. If you guys are watching this and enjoying this right now, leave a heart, click the little airplane button below. You can share this on your story and tag me and Dr. Joe. Before I ask these 3 questions, which I think are going to be mind-blowing for people that hear these responses, you just launched some new supplements as well to help people with optimizing their body, their mind. Can you talk about that for a second, just so people are aware of this?
Sure. I mean, I didn't predict any of this global situation to happen, but I have been working with creating a healthy blend of raw materials that have to do with vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and plant-based herbs and formulations to provide the very building blocks of the hormonal centers in our bodies that we bless on a daily basis to create more order and coherence in each one of those individual little brains. And the coherence begins to create more orders or more clear orders to hormonal centers. And so by people doing the blessings and creating this balance, I thought, God, if I provided the raw materials, and we had the amino acids that were in the highest concentration in each hormonal center, we can begin to influence or provide the raw materials for people to move back into balance. We created this one for the heart center, and because the heart is, you know, has all these functions, we put a lot of the immunoglobulins that are the natural boosters for our immune system to create more inner balance. And then, you know, we do a lot of work with the pineal gland in our community, that radio receiver that connects you to the mystical. So I created the raw materials to create more balance when we go to sleep. If you want to dream and go into restorative sleep, and then maybe something that may empower your pineal gland to get you up and get you going and create the proper amounts of serotonin and some of those excitatory neurotransmitters that keep people awake and focused. So we've got 3. The company's called Biosyntropy, and we have 3 in formulation. So
yeah,
soon.
I'm seeing someone commented they already have the supplements, so they got them for me already. So where can they go to get that? Is that just at drjoedispenza.com? There's a link where they can get the supplements and order those?
No, the company is called Biosyntropy. Biosyntropy,
okay.
BIOSYNTROPY.com, and the products are there. Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. I think there's like a link somewhere on your website too that I saw.
There could be, yeah.
So if you go to this link here, here's a question. Here's a question that I saw, and I'm seeing people saying they've already got your supplements and they want to get it. So that's going to be awesome for people if they go there. This is a question that I think everyone wants to know the answer to, especially during this time of feeling like there's a lack, feeling like there's a loss, feeling like there's uncertainty around money, around opportunities. Opportunities are dwindling for some people that they're thinking, you know, all these uncertain times. How do we change from having a scarcity mindset into an abundance mindset, especially if the evidence is not showing that we have abundance right now for some people?
Sure. Well, look, this is a tough question to answer, but I'll tell you that for me, I'm going to see this as a great opportunity, brilliantly disguised as an impossible situation. That I'm not going to meet this challenge from the same level of consciousness. We have to go to a greater level of awareness, a greater level of consciousness, and create and invent and figure out new ways to connect and figure out new ways to influence the Earth's field and create new ways to change outcomes in reality. And it's not about one person doing it. It's a new consciousness that must emerge that isn't going to live in fear. Because what we fear, we give power to, we give our attention to. That we don't live as victims to our circumstances, that we create different circumstances. That if you face this present challenge as an opportunity for a greater consciousness to emerge, a collective consciousness that sees behind the illusion of separation, that could connect in a field of information and create one mind, create one heart, and emerge like those birds that all fly in one pattern, fish in one school. You get the appearance that it's a bigger organism because there's no leader in that flock. There's no leader in that school. Everybody's leading. Everybody is demonstrating it. And that's, we have to step up beyond it. And information is causing us to see that maybe governments aren't going to take care of us. Maybe churches are not going to take care of us, or synagogues, or maybe, medicine is not going to take care of us. And maybe all of those things that we've relied on to change our inner state is not going to really, we're not going to really take care of us. At a certain point, we got to take care of us, right?
Dang.
And
preach it, Dr. Joe, preach it.
No, we got to face this. There's no other alternative.
Yeah.
There isn't another alternative except waiting instead of creating. So maybe it's a time in history that you and I negotiated to be here on some other space and time, and that we're here for an awakening. Let's see what happens if we play that out. And you can't be afraid, and you can't be angry, and you can't be hostile, and you can't be resentful. And that's this consciousness that creates viruses, that creates disease.